collection is partly inherited, partly subject to some searching and buying in Italy. Over the past 35 years, I believe that the works, since they were l'entre-deux guerres, they were works created, most of them, between World War I and World War II. Finding them wasn't too difficult, and they were sort of accrued in our place in Abruzzo and in Rome, and brought over to the United States. Well, Futurism emphasized energy, expansive color, revolution, actually, in art. In fact, in the manifesto, Marinetti wrote that museums had become cemeteries. And so the idea was to tear down the old, kind of like Nietzsche, the revaluation of values. In art, instead, they had expressions of energy, color, subjects, the glorification of war, for example, an extreme concentration upon athletic motion, of unique forms in space, to parody the work of Boccioni. In fact, the Futurists believed that the revolution in art was a revolution in motion and energy, that art as it was expressive of sort of stolid moments in time. They wanted to express the unification of motion, vision, and energy, with color, by the way. In this show, you'll see some very, I won't say violent color, but it's probably the right word to use, because they wanted to express violence to a world that was ready for passive art, the art of what they considered to be effete passivity. So a work of still life, for example, would be of very little interest to a futurist without astounding color in it. The Futurist movement fell at a point in art where you can see Van Gogh, you can see Georges Seurat, you can see the influence of the Surrealists early on, and you can also get the idea that the Futurist painters were not grave people. They saw art in museums and the art of the art critics as a kind of entombment. And they said, as I mentioned earlier, that museums had become cemeteries. So what they wanted to bring to the canvas and to the film and to the music of Balilla Pratella, or to the films that they made in those times, and to photography, was a sense of leggerezza, to use the expression that Italo Calvino, the way Calvino uses it in the Sei Lezioni, that he said, "Il faut être léger comme l'oiseau, mais non comme la plume." You have to be light like a bird, but not like a feather. So this is bird-like lightness, and it's expressed in some of these works. I'm referring here to the work of Giulio Danna and Pippo Rizzo. Rizzo, you see with this fantastic, I should say fantasy, literally, of a fisherman, and of course he's from Sicily, and that would be native in a way to him. But look at the representation. The surrealistic sky, reminiscent of Starry Night of Van Gogh, the pointillism that's used in the expression, the breaking up of surfaces, and the extraordinary coloration. And then you see in the dancers and the swimmers, this very funny work, actually, when you think about it. It's people who are falling in different ways in the water, whose expressions are blank. In this other case, it's two dancers with one eye each, as if they're looking in two different directions to do their dance. Very, very clever work. I have to say that the Italian Futurists brought down convention in many, many ways. They were not revolutionary, although they thought of themselves that way. They weren't really revolutionary. They were sort of on an entirely new wave forward. I like to see them that way. I like to see them as inventors rather than responders. And these works, the variety of these works shows the variety of their invention.